The doctor spoke with that soft, measured tone people use when delivering news they hope won't shatter someone. But it did. It absolutely did. I'm sorry, Maria, the chances of a future pregnancy are extremely low. The room around me dimmed. My husband, Daniel, squeezed my hand, but even his warmth felt distant, like I was sinking in a body of water too deep for sound to reach. I watched the doctor's lips move, offering condolences wrapped in sterile sympathy, but everything echoed in slow motion. The moment we left the hospital, I felt something hollow open inside me, something cold and shaking. I had imagined cradling a baby. Hearing impossibly small breaths. Feeling a future grow in my arms. Instead, all I heard was a silence that felt like a punishment. Days blurred into weeks. Daniel did everything he could, flowers, dinners, gentle reassurances, but the house felt heavier than ever. Empty in a way that made the silence abrasive. At night, I dreamed of shadows shaped like children playing in the corners of rooms, laughing with voices I would never hear. I'd wake sweating, my hands clutching the sheets like they were slipping away. Daniel was the one who suggested the orphanage. Just to look, he said, gentle but hopeful. No pressure. Maybe just being around children will help. Part of me resisted. The other part, the broken part, longed for any shape that filled the void. So we went. The orphanage was an old stone building set behind rusted gates and a courtyard where no children played. Inside, the air smelled faintly of incense and something older, like unopened rooms and unsaid things. Nuns walked in quiet lines, their faces composed into soft, unreadable masks. Then we saw them. Tin and Tina. Two pale twins, standing hand in hand at the end of a long corridor. Their white hair framed faces so delicate they looked carved from porcelain. Their eyes, huge, glassy, impossibly innocent, locked onto mine with unsettling focus. They didn't smile. They didn't blink. They simply watched. Are they always this quiet? Daniel whispered. Sister Esperanza, the head nun, nodded with serene pride. They were raised in the ways of purity. Their devotion is absolute. The twins stepped toward us in perfect synchrony. Their small shoes made no sound on the floor. Hello, I said softly, kneeling. Tin leaned forward first. His voice was high, sweet, almost melodic. God sends children where they are most needed. Tina followed, her tone identical, like the same voice split into two. And he sent us together. A strange chill crept up my spine. Something about the way they spoke didn't feel like children. It felt rehearsed. Recited. As if they'd memorized sentences without truly understanding them. Do you like to play? Daniel asked, trying to lighten the mood. Tin and Tina nodded once, together. We play with what God gives, Tin murmured. The world is full of signs, added Tina. Their hands never separated, not once. Sister Esperanza led us on a brief tour. The walls were lined with drawings done by small hands, crude crosses, angels with too many wings, children kneeling in prayer. All with halos, glowing, floating. But something about the eyes in the drawings felt wrong, too wide, too dark. They are very obedient, the nun said. Very faithful. They have never questioned God, not once. I forced a smile, though my skin prickled. They seem very disciplined. Pure, she corrected. We spent more time with the twins in the courtyard. They asked strange questions. Do you talk to the angels? Do you know how God punishes liars? Do you believe pain washes the soul? They said each line with such innocent sweetness it felt like honey hiding shards of glass. Still, I felt drawn to them. Maybe it was their fragility. Maybe it was the way Tina gently touched my hand and whispered, "You'll be a mother again." Maybe it was the way Tin leaned his head against my arm as if he had known me forever. By the time we left, my heart felt torn open. Not bleeding, just exposed. Daniel looked at me as we reached the car. You felt it too, didn't you? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Because as we drove away, I saw Tin and Tina standing at the orphanage gates, still hand in hand, watching our car disappear. They didn't wave. They didn't smile. They simply stared with those wide, glassy eyes, eyes that seemed to see past the world we lived in. Eyes that felt like a promise. A promise I didn't yet understand. But I would. God help me, I would. The adoption process moved unnervingly fast. Paperwork that usually took months seemed to glide through hands as if invisible forces hurried everything along. Daniel called it a miracle. I tried to believe that. I tried to believe anything that made sense. But underneath the relief, something small and sharp gnawed at me, something I didn't want to acknowledge. The day we brought Tin and Tina home, the sky hung low with heavy clouds, like a warning whispered through the wind. The twins stepped out of the car holding each other, staring at the house with eerie anticipation. "This is your new home," Daniel said with forced cheer. Tin tilted his head, examining the front door. "Does God live here?" Tina answered before we could. "He lives everywhere, but he watches closer in new places." Their voices floated like old hymns. Inside, they walked room to room silently, never letting go of each other. They touched things gently, books, candles, framed photos, as if each object carried meaning beyond what the eye could see. When they reached the nursery, the room that had remained untouched since my miscarriage, they froze. Tin stepped forward first, his small fingers tracing the crib rail. "It's ready," he whispered. "For the blessing," Tina added. Daniel and I exchanged a quick glance. "What blessing?" I asked carefully. They turned toward me in perfect, mirrored motions. Their pale faces held an expression too serene, too knowing for children their age. "You," they said together. A cold ripple slid down my spine. We tried to settle into a rhythm. Daniel cooked. I arranged their clothes. The twins sat at the kitchen table drawing quietly. Their drawings were always religious, crosses, angels, strange symbols I didn't recognize. But today, something was different. As I passed behind them, I noticed Tin was drawing a tall woman standing next to two children who held her hands. My breath caught when I realized, the woman was me. Her face was pale, hollow-eyed. And behind her was a dark shape with wings stretched impossibly wide, hovering like a shadow that owned her. Tina drew the same thing. "Sweetheart," I said softly, "why am I crying in the picture?" Tin looked up with that uncanny calmness. "Those are tears of joy." "Yes," Tina added. "Purification is joy." A chill hugged my bones. "And what's that behind me?" Their eyes widened, glowing almost. "An angel," they said in unison. The shape looked nothing like any angel I'd ever seen. That night, we sat for dinner. Tin and Tina insisted on saying grace, which seemed sweet, at first. They stood on their chairs, holding their little hands up like tiny prophets. "Bless this meal," Tin began, voice soft but sharp. "Cleanse our new mother," Tina continued. "Make her holy again. Make her whole again. Take away the blood. Take away the pain. And show her your will." By the time they sat down, my appetite had vanished entirely. Later, after tucking them in, though they insisted they didn't need to be tucked, saying, "God keeps us warm," Daniel wrapped his arms around me in the hallway. "They're a lot," he admitted. "Daniel, they're not like other kids. They grew up in a strict convent. It's normal that they're a little." "A little what?" My voice cracked. "They're not just shy or religious. There's something wrong. They talk like they're possessed by scripture." He sighed. "They've had a strange life. Give them time." I wanted to argue. I wanted to scream that something felt unnatural. But I couldn't deny the way they looked at me, like they already belonged to me, or worse, like I belonged to them. That night I couldn't sleep. Shadows curled in the corners of the room, and the wind outside carried a faint, childlike humming. I sat up, rubbing my eyes. Then I heard it. A soft patter of footsteps. I slipped out of bed, moving quietly down the hallway. The nursery door was slightly open. A thin slice of light spilled across the floor. I pushed it. Gently. Tin and Tina stood inside, holding hands, staring at the empty crib. Their voices rose in a soft, rhythmic chant. Make her ready. Make her pure. Make her whole. Make her bleed, so she can heal. My breath hitched. The floor creaked beneath me. They turned their heads slowly, too slowly, to face me. Both smiled. Mommy, Tina whispered, you're awake. And in their eyes, I saw something glowing. Something divine. Something terrible. The next morning, sunlight pushed into the house like an intruder, too bright, too loud against the silence that draped the halls. I hadn't slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the twins standing in the nursery, their faces glowing, chanting those words in their eerie, melodic voices. I came downstairs to find them already at the kitchen table, sitting perfectly straight, hands folded, faces expressionless. Good morning, Mommy, they chimed in unison. My stomach twisted. Good morning. Daniel walked in behind me, yawning, oblivious to the tension thick enough to choke on. You kids sleep well? He asked. Yes, Tin said. We dreamed of angels visiting the house, Tina added. Tin nodded. They said something wonderful is coming. Tina smiled slowly. Something holy. Daniel chuckled lightly. That sounds nice. I shot him a look sharp enough to cut glass. After breakfast, they asked to show me something important. They took my hands, one on each side, and guided me to the backyard. The grass glistened with morning dew. Birds chirped softly. Everything should have felt peaceful. But nothing felt peaceful with them. Look, Mommy, Tina said, pointing at a small patch of earth near the fence. Something was planted there, something that hadn't been there yesterday. A cross. A handmade wooden cross, small but unmistakably shaped, pressed deep into the soil. My throat tightened. Who put that there? We did, Tin answered proudly. For the blessing, Tina finished. I stepped closer, dread crawling up my spine. The wood was splintered, uneven. It looked like it had been broken off something else, the leg of a chair, maybe, or a piece of furniture. Why would you make this? I whispered. Tin smiled, the expression far too serene. To protect you. From what? Tina tilted her head, her pale braids swaying. From the devil hiding in the house. A chill sliced through me. There is no devil here. They exchanged a look. A silent one. A knowing one. We saw it, Tin said softly. We saw its shadow, Tina added. In your room, Tin concluded. My blood froze. Daniel came outside then, completely unaware. He patted my back. They're playing pretend. Kids make up monsters. But the twins weren't playing. They stared at Daniel with quiet pity, like he was too blind to understand something obvious. We're not pretending, Tina murmured. Tin pointed toward our bedroom window. It stands by your bed at night. I didn't know what scared me more, the idea that something was there, or the idea that they believed it. Later that day, while Daniel was in the garage fixing a loose doorknob, I found Tin and Tina in the living room kneeling before the TV. The screen was off, black, reflecting their pale faces like a warped mirror. What are you two doing? Praying, Tin said. To send the devil away, Tina said. Their tiny shoulders rose and fell as they breathed in slow synchrony. Their lips moved in whispers, whispers too soft to decipher but sharp enough to feel like needles against my ears. When they finished, they made the sign of the cross together. Then Tina looked up at me with wide, bright eyes. God told us something. Tin nodded. He said you're still bleeding inside. I felt the room tilt slightly. Don't say that. It's true, Tina whispered. You're sick in your soul. Tin crawled toward me on his knees, his movements too smooth, too fluid. He reached out and gently placed his hand on my stomach. We'll heal you, he said. Purification is coming, Tina added from behind him. I stepped back, breath shaking. No. No more of this. You don't touch me like that. You don't talk about my body. Do you understand? For the first time since they arrived, their expressions cracked. Their faces didn't twist in sadness. They twisted in confusion. Deep, hurt confusion, like I had scolded angels. Tin's lower lip trembled. Why are you angry at God's work? Tina's eyes welled with tears. We only want to make you clean again. My hands trembled. Stop saying that. Just, stop. The room felt smaller, darker. Tin stood slowly. Tina rose beside him. Both stared at me with a strange, chilling new expression, something like disappointment, something like warning. You shouldn't fight God, Tin whispered. It only makes him louder, Tina added. And as they walked away hand in hand, I realized something horrifying. They weren't talking about God at all. They were talking about themselves. The days that followed felt like walking through a fog soaked in fear, thick, heavy, difficult to breathe in. Something inside the house had shifted. Not physically, but in the way the air felt. Every room held a new tension, like the walls were listening, like the twins were everywhere at once. Daniel insisted everything was fine. They're children, he kept saying. Children exploring a new home. Children trying to cope. But children didn't speak prophecies. Children didn't build crosses in the yard. Children didn't watch you sleep with eyes that didn't blink. And they didn't do what I woke to one night. At first, I thought the sound was part of a dream. A faint dripping, rhythmic, steady, like water tapping against glass. When I opened my eyes, the room was dark except for the faint glow from the hallway. Drip. 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 I sat up slowly, heart hammering. The noise was coming from the bathroom. Daniel? I whispered. He didn't answer. He slept beside me, turned away, breathing softly. I pushed the blankets back and walked across the room. My fingers trembled as I reached for the bathroom light switch, but before I touched it, a soft whisper leaked through the door. Pain is a gift. My breath caught. It was Tina's voice. I pushed the door open. The light flickered on with a crackle. I gasped. Tin and Tina stood in front of the sink, their small hands cupped with water tinged faint pink. The dripping came from a washcloth they had soaked, no, drenched, in the water. The basin was stained with a diluted swirl of red. Blood. But not human blood. Something darker, thicker. Tina turned toward me first, her face glowing with a serene smile. Good morning, Mommy. Tin held the dripping cloth up like a sacred offering. We're helping you, he whispered. My voice came out fractured. What are you doing? Purifying the house, Tina said sweetly. Before the devil grows stronger. Tin dipped the cloth again. The water swirled violently. Red. Our teacher at the orphanage said holy water works better when mixed with sacrifice, Tina continued. Ice slid down my spine. What sacrifice? Tin lifted a small feather from his pocket. White, soft, innocent, except smeared with blood. God told us to take only the weak ones, he said. The ones ready to return to him. I clapped a hand over my mouth to stop the scream clawing its way out. Had they killed a bird? A cat? Something else? Something larger? This is wrong, I breathed. You can't hurt things. Tina stepped closer, her tiny hand reaching for my wrist. Her touch was shockingly cold. Everything dies, Mommy, she whispered. But not everything dies with purpose. The way she said it, calm, almost pitying, made my skin crawl. You shouldn't have seen this, Tin added, voice soft as a hymn. It's not time yet. I took a step back. What time? Tina's eyes widened like she was revealing a beautiful secret. The time when God fixes you. The next morning, Daniel found the blood-stained washcloth in the laundry basket. What the hell happened? He asked, holding it up. Before I could speak, the twins entered the room. We made holy water, Tin announced proudly. For Mommy, Tina added, smiling. Daniel stared at them, confused, then stared at me. Honey? What is this? I swallowed hard. They were playing. I think they found an injured animal outside. Tina shook her head. It wasn't injured. Tin continued, we had to help it leave its body. Daniel blinked slowly. Okay. That's enough. No more playing with animals. Tin and Tina exchanged another one of their silent, knowing looks. Then Tin spoke with eerie calmness. You can't stop what God wants. Tina added, we just do his work. Daniel laughed nervously, trying to brush it off. They're just being dramatic. Kids say weird things. But I saw it. The flicker of fear in his eyes. Even he couldn't hide it anymore. That night, Daniel and I lay in bed, both pretending to sleep. The hallway light spilled through the bottom of our door. The house was too quiet. My heart raced as I whispered, Daniel, are you awake? Yeah. What if something is seriously wrong with them? I mean really wrong. He didn't answer for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was small. I think, maybe we need help. Professional help. Relief washed through me, heavy, trembling, desperate relief. But before either of us could say another word, a soft, synchronized whisper drifted through the hall. Mommy. Daddy. The twins. Standing right outside our door. We heard you, Tin said. You shouldn't doubt God, Tina whispered. Their shadows leaked under the door like stains. And for the first time, I realized something horrifying. They weren't warning us. They were threatening us. The next days crawled like something half-dead. The twins moved through the house with an unsettling quietness, always holding hands, always whispering prayers, always watching us with eyes too old for childhood. Daniel tried to keep things normal, but normal had already rotted away. Let's take a break, he said one morning. A day out. The four of us. But the twins refused. God says we must stay here, Tina said calmly. He will send his sign tonight, Tin added. Their certainty tightened a knot in my chest. Something was coming. Something they were preparing for. As night fell, a storm rolled in. Rain battered the windows. Wind howled through the house like a warning trying to break its way inside. I lit a candle in the living room, too tense to sleep. Tin and Tina sat cross-legged on the floor in front of me. Between them was the old family Bible they'd discovered in a storage box. They traced the pages with reverent fingertips as if absorbing the words through their skin. Mommy, Tina said, God is talking again. Tin nodded. He says tonight is important. My heart shrank. Important how? Their gazes lifted at the exact same moment. For your soul, they whispered together. Before I could respond, the twins closed their eyes and began to hum. A low, eerie humming. A hymn twisted into something darker. Something too ancient for a child to know. The candle flickered violently. Then it went out. The room plunged into darkness, thick, suffocating, absolute. I felt something cold brush past my arm. Then a whisper, right next to my ear. Don't be afraid. The cleansing must begin. My body stiffened. No. Stop this. Stop now. But the humming grew louder. The air grew colder. I bolted up, heart slamming, and fumbled for the light switch. When the light snapped on, the twins were standing, still holding hands, staring at me with emotionless expressions. Your fear means the devil is still inside you, Tin said. Tina stepped forward, reaching for my arm. We will free you. I jerked back. No. Don't touch me. Something snapped in their faces. Their innocence cracked open like a shell, revealing something sharp beneath. Mommy, Tina whispered, why are you being difficult? Tin's tiny voice dropped lower, almost a growl. We're trying to save you. That was when Daniel entered the room, face pale, voice shaking. What's going on? Both twins turned toward him, their heads tilting in eerie synchrony. She's resisting God, Tin said. She doesn't want to be healed, Tina added. Daniel forced a smile. Kids, let's calm down. No one's resisting anything. But their eyes darkened. You don't understand, they said together. They reached into the Bible and pulled out a string of rosary beads. Old, wooden, cracked. They wrapped it around their joined hands and lifted them toward us. God said pain is the doorway to truth, Tin murmured. And he wants her to walk through it, Tina finished. The room went still. Silent. Heavy. Daniel stepped between us, his voice firm for the first time in weeks. That's enough. Give me the rosary. The twins didn't move. Daniel reached forward, slowly, carefully, and tugged the rosary from their hands. The twins froze. Their faces went blank. Then something like grief washed over their expressions, not childish grief, but something deeper, hollow, chilling. You shouldn't have done that, Tina whispered. You interrupted God's will, Tin added. Daniel straightened. I'm taking this away. No more rituals. No more cleansings. He turned toward the kitchen drawer to put it away. And that's when everything unraveled. Tin suddenly dropped to his knees and began sobbing, violent, shaking sobs. Tina did the same, their bodies folding in perfect unison like puppets whose strings had been cut. You've angered him, they screamed in chilling harmony. Daniel flinched. This is enough. Stop this. But their cries twisted into something unnatural, too loud, too shrill, too identical. He sees your doubt. He sees your sin. He sees the darkness in this house. Their screams rattled the windows. The lights flickered. My heart hammered against the inside of my chest. Then, suddenly, silence. Tin and Tina rose to their feet in eerie calmness, their tears vanishing instantly as though wiped by invisible hands. Tin looked at Daniel. You took his tool. Tina stepped beside him. So he'll use another. Their eyes slid toward me. And locked. Then, slowly, their lips spread into soft, chilling smiles. He'll use Mommy. The storm outside cracked with thunder, shaking the house. And somewhere deep inside my chest, something cold began to bloom. Something that felt like a warning. Something that felt like a prophecy. Something that felt like the beginning of the end. That night, I barely slept, if sleep even came at all. Every time I drifted toward it, I felt something watching me. Not the twins. Something deeper. Colder. Something moving behind the walls of our home like breath beneath skin. Daniel lay beside me, still awake. I could feel the tension radiating off him. He had finally begun to understand, too late, that something was fundamentally wrong. "I'm calling a child psychologist in the morning," he whispered. My relief was immediate. "Thank you." But the quiet that followed wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, like a held breath waiting to break. Then, from inside the walls, came a sound. A soft scraping. A slow, dragging shuffle. Like tiny fingernails dragging across wood. Daniel sat up. What the hell was that? The noise came again, scrape, 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 following the length of the wall behind our bed. I felt my blood go cold. They're not in their room. Daniel jumped out of bed, grabbed a flashlight and hurried into the hallway. I followed him, heart hammering. We reached the twins' room, and stopped. The door was open. Tin and Tina stood in the center of the room, holding hands as always. They weren't asleep. They weren't even tired. They were staring at the wall with eerie fascination. "Kids?" Daniel asked, breathless. They didn't turn. Tin finally spoke, voice barely above a whisper. "He's here." Tina finished, "The angel. We heard him calling Mommy." My stomach twisted. "I don't want you talking about angels anymore." Tina turned, her pale face serene. "You don't have to want it. He wants you." Tin raised his finger toward the wall. "He's behind there." Daniel frowned and stepped closer. "There's nothing behind." A thunderous slam hit the inside of the wall. We both jumped back. Daniel's face drained. "Jesus, what is that?" Tin smiled. "He's trying to come out." I grabbed the twins' arms. "Enough. Whatever you think you hear, stop. Right now." They both looked at me with gentle pity. "You're scared," Tina whispered. "Fear means he's close," Tin added. I dragged them back to their beds. Daniel followed, still shaken, and helped tuck them in. Their eyes stayed open, staring at us the entire time. Staring as though they were memorizing our faces. As we left the room, Tin called out softly. "He chose you, Mommy." Tina followed. "Don't disappoint him." The next morning, Daniel was on the phone with the psychologist when the smell hit me, sharp, metallic, wrong. Blood. I followed it into the hallway, and my heartbeat stuttered. A trail of reddish-brown smears along the wall, like something had been dragged inside it. "Daniel!" I yelled. He came running. His face twisted when he saw the stains. Okay, this is too much. We're leaving the house. Today." But before we could act, we heard the twins singing. Soft. Sweet. A twisted lullaby drifting from the living room. We followed the sound slowly. Tin and Tina were kneeling by the wall, pressing their palms against the stained surface. The family Bible lay open in front of them. They didn't look up when we entered. "Children," Daniel said with a shaky voice. "We're leaving. Get your shoes. Now." Tin continued singing. Tina continued smiling. "God said Mommy can't leave," Tina whispered. Tin nodded. "The angel is almost here." Daniel's voice cracked. "Stop this. Stop it right now." He grabbed them, pulling them away from the wall. The twins didn't resist, but they didn't break eye contact with the wall either, not even when Daniel shook them gently. "He wants out," Tin said dreamily. "Tear it down," Tina added. I stepped back, feeling the room tilt. No. No one touches this wall. Tina finally tore her gaze from the wall and stared at me, deep, unblinking. "But Mommy," she whispered, voice trembling with excitement. "He's coming for you." That night, the house felt colder than the outside storm. Daniel barricaded the twins' door from the outside, whispering Desperate apology we both knew wouldn't matter. We sat together on the edge of our bed, the silence swallowing us whole. "I'm calling the police tomorrow," he said. "We'll explain everything. The rituals. The blood. Their behavior. They'll help us." I nodded, clinging to his hand. But as we tried to sleep, a new sound filled the walls. Not scraping. Not crawling. Breathing. Slow. Deep. Heavy. Like something enormous was alive in there. Then a voice, soft, childlike, but definitely not human, drifted through the wall. So close. My skin crawled violently. Daniel whispered, "Did you hear that?" Before I could answer, the bedroom light flickered. And from the hallway, the twins began chanting. Low. Harmonic. Worshipful. "Open the path. Open the flesh. Let the angel in." Daniel bolted upright. "Oh God," he whispered. "They're calling it." I grabbed his arm, shaking. "Daniel, what if it's not an angel?" His eyes were wide with terror. "It's not." And the wall behind us throbbed, once, like the heartbeat of something waking up. Night had settled over the house like a shroud. The storm outside had died, leaving behind a suffocating silence that felt engineered, manufactured by something watching, waiting. Clara moved through the dark hallway slowly, the coldness of the floor seeping through her skin. Every light bulb in the house had blown out moments earlier, each popping in sudden, violent bursts like gunshots. Only the twins were calm. Tin and Tina stood at the end of the hall, barely illuminated by the weak glow of a single candle they held together between their small hands. Their faces were serene. Their shadows, enormous and misshapen, crawled along the walls behind them like monstrous silhouettes stretching out from their bodies. "Come, Mama," Tin whispered. "It's finally time," Tina added. Clara's breath hitched. Time for what? Ever since Mateo had been hospitalized after the attic incident, Clara had been alone with the children, and the house hadn't felt like her home anymore. She woke to distant whispers in her room. Found Bible verses she hadn't written scratched into the mirrors. Doors opening on their own. Cold breath on her neck at night. But nothing compared to how the twins watched her now. With devotion. With expectation. With a terrifying kind of love. "What did you do?" Clara asked, her voice raw. Tin smiled, a small, chilling curve of his lips. "We listened. We obeyed," Tina said. "Obeyed who?" "Obeyed what?" They stepped aside, revealing something on the floor behind them, something that made Clara's knees buckle. A circle was drawn in charcoal. Crosses around it. Symbols she didn't recognize. And in the middle. Her wedding ring. The same one she had thrown out weeks ago in panic. The twins had found it. And placed it here. "Why are you doing this?" Clara whispered. "For your salvation." Tin tilted his head. "For Daddy's salvation." Clara's blood ran ice cold. They knew. They knew that Mateo had planned to take them back to the orphanage. They knew she had agreed. "You lied to us," Tina said softly. "But it's okay, because we forgive." Tin stepped forward, holding the candle up so she could see his eyes. Black. Wide. Unblinking. "We're ready to finish what God asked us to do." Clara backed up, trying to steady her breathing. "You're just children. You don't understand what you're saying." Tin shook his head. "We understand everything." Tina nodded. "We understand his voice." And together they whispered, "And now you finally hear it too." The hallway suddenly felt claustrophobic, the darkness pressing in on Clara from all sides. She thought she heard movement behind her, slow, dragging, something wet. She didn't dare look. "Come into the circle," Tin said. "Let us save you," Tina added. No, Clara breathed. I'm not doing this. Both twins blinked at the same time. Perfectly synchronized. Then they smiled. Slowly. Softly. As if they knew something she didn't. We already started, they whispered. A sound echoed through the house. A door creaking opened downstairs. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Too heavy to be the children. Daddy came home early, Tina said sweetly. Clara felt a scream rising in her throat. Mateo wasn't supposed to be discharged. He wasn't supposed to be anywhere near this house. Go ahead, Tin urged. See him. Clara ran, bolting past the children, down the stairs, gripping the railing so tight it cut into her palm. She reached the bottom, breathless, and froze. Someone stood in the living room. Not moving. Not breathing. Lightning flashed through the window, brief but bright. It wasn't Mateo. It wasn't human. It was tall. And thin. And wrong. A shape made of shadow and bone. A figure she had seen only in drawings the twins had made. Its head snapped toward her with a crack. She stumbled back, choking on fear. Then. Small hands grabbed her shoulders. Tin and Tina were behind her again. Their smiles wider than ever. Now you believe, they whispered in unison. Now you're ready. Clara screamed as the candle blew out. And the house plunged into total darkness. Something moved. Something reached. Something touched the back of her neck. And the twins whispered one final, trembling word in her ear. Amen.